Hey everyone, this video tutorial is in response to a question I had from a Spanish teacher about whether or not there's a way for students and teachers, I suppose, to type those characters that are special to Spanish, the accents above the vowels or the tilde above the end, things like that. Is there a way for students to do that in the Google Suite or in an LMS? I know many of you have found there are extensions that you can add to Google Docs that make it easier to type accent marks and things like that. But that doesn't translate when you're trying to create a Google slide presentation or if you're trying to type in your LMS like Canvas. So a lot of you have taken to opening a Google Doc, having the students type out what they want and then copying and pasting into the slide or into Canvas. I think this way might be better. If you know of something better than what I'm about to show you, please let me know. But this is what I've found. And basically what we're going to do is change our keyboard settings to allow it to be a little easier. So first of all, ignore this little window that's open. That's just my recording going on. You're going to start by clicking on the settings down here in the lower right where like the clock is and your battery life and all that. When you click on that, it opens up this window. And we're going to want to click on the gear here, the settings gear. When we click on that, it takes us to our settings screen. And we're going to scroll down to devices. So when we scroll down, we see devices here. And then we obviously are going to want the keyboard. So if we click on keyboard, we are now going to scroll down to change language and input settings. It's the last option here under keyboard here. So we clicked on keyboard and now change language and input settings. So here's our language and input. And we're going to change the input method. Notice that obviously the default is a US keyboard. That makes sense. We're in the United States. We're going to change that. So we're going to click on the input method. We see the one keyboard we have here. We're going to manage input methods. And we're going to select the US International keyboard. So notice we now have both of those selected. So US keyboard is the default, and now we've added the US International keyboard. Once you've done that, you can go up here and exit out of your settings. And then notice now down here, it's letting us know what keyboard is activated, and it's the default US keyboard. We're going to change that to international. Now, I was worried that that was going to mess up my keyboard when I was typing things that were not Spanish related. It doesn't. You can leave this as your default. If you change it from US to international, you can leave that on. And when you're typing a regular document in English, nothing will be impacted. So don't be afraid to change your default here. So I'm going to click on the US here. We can see now that our default keyboard here is the US keyboard, and we're just going to click on that and click to make the international keyboard what is the default. So now you can see down here it's changed from US to international. So now I'm going to show you how this works. I'm going to open up, you see I've been playing around here. I'm going to open up a Google Doc. And again, this works in more than just Google Docs. It should work anytime that you're trying to input characters. So you can see my keyboard, is working normally. I'm just typing as I normally would. Everything is functioning, even though I'm set to the international keyboard at the bottom here. Everything is functioning normally on my doc when I'm inputting text. But if I do want to type one of those special characters in Spanish, you're going to want to utilize the right Alt key. So, you have two Alt keys on either side of your space bar. You're going to want to use the one on the right, not the one on the left. So if I'm holding down the Alt key on the right and I type my vowels, notice the accent mark appears above that vowel. So all I'm doing is holding down the Alt key and typing A, E, I, O, U, and the accent mark shows up. If I just type A, E, I, O, U, they come up without the accent mark. The same is true for the tilde above the N. So if you hold down Alt and the letter N, you get it with the tilde above. If I just hit N, there's no tilde. And then the same is true for the upside down punctuation at the end of a sentence in Spanish. So, your question marks or your exclamation points at the end. You just utilize the same tactic. You hold down the Alt key, and now I'm hitting the 1 key because that's what the exclamation point key is connected to. And there you get your upside down exclamation point. I did not have to hit the Shift key. So, when you're normally typing to get the exclamation point, you have to hit Shift 1 to let it know that you don't want the 1. But in this instance, all I'm doing is hitting the right Alt key and the 1, and it's giving me the upside down exclamation point. The same is true for the upside down question mark. It's the right Alt key and the question mark key. So hopefully this speeds up typing special characters for you. You don't have to worry about the copy and the paste. And again, you can leave the international keyboard on even when you're not going to type special Spanish characters, because the keyboard works, you know, as a normal US English keyboard would without hitting that right Alt key. So hopefully this helps you Spanish teachers out there that have been struggling with getting students to type those special characters. You don't have to remember super long codes to type them or copy and paste. It's just simply the Alt key and then the character that you want altered for Spanish. Again, if you know of an easier way, please let me know, but this is the best that I found so far.